Hi, this is Dave Anderson from the Heart of Heritage Hunt. This is episode 9, part 3 of a 3-part story about the 1st Minnesota Volunteer Infantry during the American Civil War. In part 3, I'll talk about the end of their enlistment in the war, and I'll sing a song about a walk I took at the Manassas Battlefield Park on Brawner Farm. I hope you've enjoyed the story and will remember the Minnesota 1st. Thanks for listening. This is Dave Anderson from the Heart of Heritage Hunt. Take care and stay safe. The 1st Minnesota Volunteers continued to show their bravery the next day when they held the northern line at the exact target for Pickett's charge. There were many brave Northern troops that day that fought Pickett's men, but Pickett's colors were captured by a man from the Minnesota Volunteers, for which he eventually won the Medal of Honor. The next year, the men of the 1st Minnesota Volunteer Infantry completed their 3-year enlistment and went home. Those that could go home. Over the course of the 3 years of fighting, the 1,000-man regiment was diminished by 286 men killed and another 609 wounded. There's a quote from Richard Moe, who wrote the book The Last Full Measure, The Life and Death of the 1st Minnesota Volunteers, that kind of sums it all up. In February 1864, they began their journey home, stopping first in the capital, where most of the official Washington turned out to honor the regiment, whose feats at Gettysburg had made them famous. Their patriotism, their conviction that what they were doing was necessary to preserve their country, never wavered. They expressed it in different ways, but they universally believed in their country, and they were prepared to risk hardship, pain, and even death to preserve it. These were ordinary men, without pretense or guile, who happened to live at a time that was anything but ordinary. They had the same human shortcomings as any other group of men, but they also had an inner strength, perhaps stemming in part from life on the frontier, that helped them survive their incredible ordeal. I'd like to finish this portion of the presentation with one last song. Following that trip to Gettysburg, I started spending a considerable amount of time hiking the trails at the Manassas National Battlefield Park. It's a quiet, beautiful area of rolling hills, pastures, fields, and farms. One afternoon, after a hike on the Brawner Farm, I had a vision of the fighting that had occurred there and the men who had died there during the Second Battle of Manassas. I realized that anyone could have the same vision walking on any of the national battlefields. Most of the men who fought during the war didn't know where they were and certainly didn't assign any specific importance to the particular ground they fought on, other than hoping it wasn't the place they'd die. It wasn't the land that made the site's hallowed ground, it was the men who fought there. So this last song is about Brawner Farm at the Manassas battlefield, but it could be about Gettysburg, Antietam, Fredericksburg, Vicksburg, or any of the hundreds of other battle sites where brave men fought and lost their lives to save their country. It's called A Walk on Brawner Farm.
The summer sun beat down on Brawner Farm, countryside lush and green. Above the house fence and woodland woodlines rolled, with open fields in between. Through the pastures and the trees I walked, thinking far into the past, until I happened on a cannon row, silent as the shadows cast. How many lives, how many dreams, how many souls fought and fell? Men in blue, men in gray, a haunting rebel yell. High above the top of Stony Ridge, a solo hawk swooped and soared. Years ago, as Yankees marched below, the southern cannons roared. Behind the cut of a woodline planned, General Jackson hid his men. As you stroll along these well-worn paths, you can see them fight again. Face to face, gun to gun, the fertile fields ran red. Hand to hand, man to man, the ground piled high with dead. Clouds were building and the air was still. Time had come to head on home. But in my mind I watched the battle rage, while all around dead spirits roamed. The Brawner land is like so many farms. From its rich soil life abounds, and all it took was several August days to turn those fields to hallowed ground.
Thank you. I hope you've enjoyed the story and will remember the 1st Minnesota Volunteers' bravery and sacrifice. I encourage all of you to support the national parks and the national battlefields and visit them often. This is Dave Anderson.